And welcome to Global Harmony House. I'm going to change a few things here. Usually at this time, one of our regular MCs would welcome you and tell you what a wonderful program we're going to have tonight, but they have chosen to join a retreat at our Peace Village Learning and Retreat Center up in the Catskills. And so they are going off into Madhuban tonight. And so I'm kind of filling in for them, but welcome to our insight. And as you probably guessed, the topic is what brings me joy. And it is a part of our April spring theme, a time for renewal. And so we've had a few episodes already of having to renew our internet connection because some places it's not so wonderful, and we are hoping that it will continue to stay wonderful for at least another hour, because our wonderful speaker tonight is Sister Gayatri, and she actually happens to be in Peace Village also, or Madhuban Retreat, and her internet is less stable than her stage and her feelings of joy. And so we're quite happy to have Sister Gayatri with us tonight. I know that most of you have been with us in the past and have heard her. I think she's on a monthly routine or so. And it's wonderful to have her back again because she speaks from the heart. She speaks from a clarity which is very profound for all of us. And so we're going to open it up and have Sister Gayatri share. We'll have a chance maybe for some interaction if we have that time, both chat and in voice. And as we always do, we hope to have a joyful meditation during or at the end of the entire hour. So welcome everyone for joining. And Sister Gayatri, glad you're there. It brings me joy to see you.
Thank you, Eric. And you're always going to be the one who will be there, ever ready to do what is necessary in the moment, and that will bring me joy. Hello, everyone, and it's lovely to be with you this evening and to share with you on this subject of what brings me or what brings you joy. As you heard, I'm at Peace Village, and I hope I do have a stable internet now. I just change the links, so maybe it will last for as long as we need it to. And so it's spring. It's beautiful here at Peace Village. The flowers are now coming out at Peace Village. Whereas in New York City, it's already falling off the trees. It's interesting that the climate up here, the climate conditions up here makes everything so much later than it happens in New York City. And so it's just, there's a tree by our meditation room, and it is a Japanese, I think it's an apple blossom, and it's now beginning to show its flowers. And I know by the time it's May, it's going to be really, really blooming with the flowers. Flowers are going to be all out. So nature has a very interesting way of bringing joy to our lives. And no wonder nature is called Mother Nature or Mother Earth. So today we'll be talking and exploring the subject of joy. Springtime is a joyful season, but I think the whole year there are elements of joy as well in every season. Why this is so? It's because joy is something very subtle. It's an extremely subtle feeling. It's a subtle innate virtue of the soul. And this is why sometimes it's referred to, and the Hindi term used is Atindriya Sukh, which literally means a joy beyond the senses. And so it's a joy connected to soul consciousness. It's connected to the spirit. And so they usually distinguish it from happiness. So even within the research, the worldly research, the academic research of joy, they make the distinction between joy and happiness. And joy is something that comes from the inner soul, the inner spirit, that it's an innate quality, whereas happiness you could go in pursuit of. But joy, you don't have to go in pursuit of it because it's something that's innate within us. So before I go exploring this beautiful subject of joy, such a short word, but such a beautiful meaning, I'd like you to reflect on this question. What is it that brings you joy? Now you saw your friends, right? I tried to choose faces that you would identify with, people who come on once a month, talk to you about different things, to hear their expressions of what brings them joy. And if you notice what they said, it was all about the dog, the love for dogs, and Julia loves dogs. It is about something that makes me smile. It is something that brings joy when I serve. It is something like, of course, when the sun shines on your face, you feel that joy. Eric was being with the bees out in nature, taking the fragrance from the jasmine. And actually, those jasmine trees are in front of the Queen Center. And it has such a high fragrance that everyone that passes down that street stops just to take a picture or just to admire it or just to breathe in the fragrance. And so, but no one, I have noticed, no one destroys it. So that's another element of joy. When it is true joy, it is not necessarily something that you want to destroy. It brings that very pure feeling. So let's just take 30 seconds. And I want you to reflect, to go within your souls, to go within yourselves and reflect on this question. What brings you joy? And if you would like, you can write whatever came up for you in terms of what brings you joy into the chat. And maybe we could share it later on. So what brings me joy? Joy is something that's embedded in little moments. And those little moments brings the soul alive to the reality. The soul is always living, of course, it's a living being. But when that joy is felt by the soul, it is as if the soul comes alive. And those moments are actually small moments in life, but they are valued and they are cherished and they are remembered. So this term, jumping for joy, they have this concept that I am jumping for joy. The soul, the body is jumping for joy. But there's something that is being cherished. There's something very precious within the soul that the soul is remembering. It's being triggered through an external catalyst. It's being stimulated by that external catalyst, but the soul is remembering something and the body is jumping for joy. So the kind of joy that matters is not necessarily things around us, even though the things around us may trigger that experience of joy, but it is an openness. The soul opens itself to allow for that expression of joy that comes from within and connects to something outside. And so what is it that sparks that feeling of joy, the joy that comes from the inside and connects to something on the outside? And I was reading a story, and this story, it was a little kind of anecdote about joy. And the story said that the rain was falling very heavily, and a lot of people came together and they were sheltering from the rain after being soaked, because it was a sudden rainfall, a downpour. And they were soaked, their clothes were soaked, and they were all sheltering under this canopy and the awning, and the sheltering from the rain. And then after, in certain countries, the rain falls very heavily, but for short periods. And then the rain came, it got less, and it was just drizzles, and they started coming out from under the shade. And then someone looked up in the sky and someone said, "Look, there's a rainbow up there." And they all looked, and the expression on their faces of seeing that rainbow was such a joyful experience. So that rainbow triggered that feeling of joy within them. And that feeling of joy then got expressed on their face. So this thing about joy, you really cannot strategize it. You really cannot say, this is what it is, and this is what that causes it. But it is something that the soul naturally gives expression to. It's this natural flow that comes from the soul and gets expressed on its face when it sees certain things or it experiences certain things in the environment. And rainbows is one of those beautiful, colorful images that sparks that feeling of joy in the soul. So one of the things I want you to notice here, and maybe we'll go into a little bit more of discussion, so we could win a little bit more depth of it, is joy is something that is connected to colors. And the colors of your choice are colors that would give expression to your joys. It may not be the same color for everyone. So people have their favorite colors in life because that favorite color of theirs sparks something within the soul that brings out that joy. But of course, the rainbow is of many different colors. It's of 7 colors. So maybe when it rises up to brilliant white, that reminds us of a state of being, a state of soul consciousness, which is usually referred to as the angelic form of the soul, in which all the colors within the soul joyfully bursts into this white light that is referred to as our angelic stage. Now, another thing about joy is that every human being, every soul has the capacity for joy. And but we have forgotten it. We have forgotten that lying within us is an innate quality called joy. And we have the capacity to make it, the soul is living. So the soul has the capacity to bring alive this feeling of joy. So the soul is the pilot that would ignite the flame of joy in itself. So this means that the more I'm aware of those precious moments, like looking up and seeing a rainbow and noticing the joy that exudes from me and plants itself on that smile on my face, or if there's a particular color that makes me feel that joyful feeling when if I paint my wall in it, if I wear the color of clothes, if I look at the setting of the sun and that brilliant red, orange, the joy that it brings within the soul. So that color, it reignites that in the self. So it's just a question of the soul being aware and noticing how the joy is given expression. And of course, springtime, the time of renewal, the time in which there's new growth, the time in which there's so many different colors and forms and shapes and flow and symmetry. This is when the soul should, and I'm sure we all are aware of the joy that it exudes. But also when I'm aware that my joy is innate and is given expressions through the things in my world, this radically changes the way that I look not only at myself and my own awareness, but I look at my relationships with others, my relationship with my body, my relationship with other people, human beings, my relationship with my world, my natural world, and my relationship with everything else in the world. So the question here then, is it that joy is connected to what is outside in that natural world, in the people I have relationships with, in situations and circumstances in the world when it's in my favor? Or is it a capacity within myself to bring up that joy, to express that joy when I am interacting with others? Because joy is not selfish. Joy actually connects. Joy is something that brings people closer, regardless of diversity. And this is why when there is diversity, not when, there's always diversity, the joy within me and the capacity to express that joy through inspiration, through wonder, through curiosity is something that's very important for me to appreciate the diversity. Because this joy of wanting to appreciate that which is different in another is a joy that is innate in the soul, because the soul loves variety. The soul does not like monotony. So if everybody was the same and everybody had the same things to say and the same features and the same likes and dislikes, then that would not allow me to appreciate the diversity. And so the joy would be suppressed. But the capacity to express that joy through inspiration, through wonder, and through curiosity is what would help me to live in a world that is so diverse, but at the same time to appreciate the uniqueness of everyone. And so the differences becomes the spice of life, gives me a joy. And so there's a saying that the soul delights. Another word for joy is to something delightful. So they say the soul delights in the light. So that would be the soul delights in the light of its own self, being this beautiful soul with multifaceted talents and skills and unlimited potential, which I'm now exploring. But the soul also delights in the light of nature. The soul delights in the light of other souls. The soul delights in the light of God. And this light, what it tells us, the soul delights in light because light is the source. So if I'm delighting in the light of nature, I know light is the source of nature. It's one of the sources, one of the natural elements. If I'm delighting in the light or the spirit of another soul in my relationship, that is the light of soul consciousness. If I'm delighting in the light of the world, I'll be looking for things that bring me that delight. I'm going to connect to the rainbows. I'm going to connect to things that are life-giving. And so anything that is life-giving, it brings joy. That joy is given expression to it. And maybe this is why when it comes to, the birth of a baby, they always say a bundle of joy. It's new birth. It's a new life that has come into the family in a gift to the world. And so the soul delights in that light of this new being and calls it joy, a bundle of joy. Another element of joy is in my relationship with my body. And it's said that joy animates matter. So we always say the soul is the living being in the body. And so when the soul enters the body, it animates the body. But what is in the soul? What's the characteristic of the soul that animates the body and makes the body operates at optimum functioning? And it is the joy that the soul brings to the body. Now, when we're looking at our relationships with our body and we're seeing what is it that brings the most joy to the body, through the body, of course, to the soul, but how is the soul using the body in a joyful way? One would think of music, right? When I listen to music, I rejoice in what I'm hearing. I feel a sense of being uplifted. The other could be the fragrance of what I take in from my outer world. That uplifts me, the natural fragrance of flowers, the natural fragrance of the rain coming. You smell that rain, the grass, the natural fragrance that exists, when I walk through nature, when I walk through the woods, the natural nature on the beaches, the fragrance that exists there, it brings that out. But the other thing about my relationship of joy with my body is taste. And that is usually connected to food. And this is where the question that I asked when I was thinking of joy in relation to the body is, do I feed this body on the basis of the tastes I like, knowing that the tastes I like may be harmful to the body? So the taste may give me a joy, but that is not, that taste that gives me the joy is not a joy that is innate in the spirit. Because a joy that is innate in the spirit is a joy that will always do what is good, what is beneficial. It will always bring the positive. It will always bring the elevated. And this is why joy, as a virtue of the soul, is a virtue that is spoken about, that is beyond the senses. And so sometimes we would say, oh, that tastes so good. It was joyful, but then it's not good for the body. Now, the joy of taste would always be something that is taken in that will be beneficial to the body, that will be doing good for the body. And so these are some of the elements. Another aspect of joy is to be playful. And so joy, if I'm serious and there was this beautiful video that we just looked, the meditation commentary in which there was discipline and there was joy. And so, of course, doing something systematically, doing something with consistency, it builds, it gives you that resilience. And of course, it builds capacity as well. But joy is something in which you make, even if it's a discipline, you will make that discipline something light and easy. So you will become playful. It will be something that brings out a side of you that it's got these three qualities: curiosity, inspiration, wonderment. You know, you'll be in the awe of it. So there will be this playfulness that you would have. And to me, joy is never associated with being serious and being adamant and being, you know, accomplished driven and success driven. You're not in pursuit of anything with joy, but you're just allowing it to emerge out of you. So that's another element of it. It's the, you know, the word rejoice is a word that comes from joy. And so to be rejoicing in your life and not to make it something dry and monotonous and a discipline of force. And so this is why when we even use this word effort, if it is an effort of labor, it is not joyful. I'm not rejoicing in my life. But if it is an effort, and the Hindi word is very beautiful, purushart. So purush is the soul and arth is the body. So to rejoice in life, to be light and to have that playful enjoyment of life. And again, enjoyment, the word joy is in it. It's to recognize that all I need to do is to be in the right awareness so that what is innate within the soul is given an expression with free flow, and it's connected to what is authentic within me. So finally, what I would ask you before Eric takes me into a conversation, the question I was also asking myself, and I'm asking you now, is where does joy come from and how do we get more of it? So I told you it comes from within, but how do we get more? How do we live lives more joyful and less anxious? And so, you know, on a meditative path, I think that we discover joy from a more introspective basis. But the joy doesn't stay within us. The joy is given expression to the outside. So before we entered a meditative path, we used to see a lot of things in the world. And of course, it used to trigger or spark the joy within us. And so it used to be for moments. We would experience them momentarily, and then we would cherish them. We would always remember them. The thing about a joyful moment, you never forget it. It leaves an imprint and it comes back to you from time to time. But when we enter a meditative path, we begin to see the joy comes from inside of us. And so it is a little bit of how do I turn this whole equation around from taking joy from without that sparks me sometimes and makes me remember that feeling of being joyful, and instead cultivate more joy by recognizing the more I'm in the awareness of being a soul, it's the more I'm allowing that free flow of joy to emanate from me into my outer world. So how do I allow these invisible ripples of soul conscious joy to emanate into my life, to emanate in or to bring everything in my life, make it alive into the world that I live? And so rather than taking in order to trigger the joy within me, I'm triggering it through my connection to God, through my connection to the source. I'm like being the tortoise. I'm drawing all my limbs away from the outer world. I'm going into this beautiful ekant priya, this beautiful space of loving solitude. And I'm connecting to the source, and I'm allowing the invisible ripples of soul conscious joy to emanate from within me into the outer world. And the thing about that is that these ripples will move through the moments of life, through the breath of life, through the thoughts and feelings that are coming out from me. And they will saturate themselves into the simple moments, into the simple things of life. That's another thing about joy. It shows up it's a very elegant feeling. And the elegance of it shows up in the very simple things of life. And as you heard, it shows up just being with someone that you care a lot for, and the joy flows. And so it is cultivated, the elegance of it is cultivated. So I feel that in conclusion, joy is a universal human feeling. It's innate within the soul. And every human being is capable of experiencing this feeling of joy because it's within them. And how do we know that this is true? You just have to look at children and you see that the joy that emanates from children is effortless on their part. But when we grow up, the kids naturally find, you go to a playground and you would see how naturally they find this joy. And they live in this world around them and they have nothing that they're afraid of. The innocence within that joy is so tremendous. But the problem is, as we grow older, we are pressured in a way. We have created structures and systems and lifestyles and relationships that pressure us. And they make us put aside the things in life, the simple things in life, the elegance of simplicity aside, and the things that bring us joy. And then we have to act serious. We have to stop doing things. We don't even, people take vacations, but yet their vacations are so full of stress. So forget about your vacations. I would say to you, do one thing for yourself. And that is periodically take a day off and take a day of joy. Say today, my day off is to spend time in joy. And I will go out and I will be in my ekant priya, my beautiful, loving stage of solitude. And I'm going to allow my joy to flow into everything and with everyone. And this is my contribution. It costs nothing. All it requires is for us to remember. So I'll stop there and I'll hand over to Eric. And Eric, it was good, right? It didn't break. The internet was very good.
You gave us great joy in your appearance here. So you have triggered our innate experiences of being curious. And I want to just ask you a couple questions, actually see if this might bring out a couple things. But you talked about and equated the concept of joy and curiosity. That when we are looking and we are wandering like little children, there's great joy from that. And I'm thinking some of the terms that we've used for the Brahma Kumaris and the path that we're on is lifelong learning. And so it seems to me that if we continue to study or learn or experience or stay curious, and not get locked down and not think we know things and not forget that, joy will always be available to us. And so if we have that process of wanting to know more or wanting to experience more or being childlike, that would be a way to continue being joy because we're continuing to learn. One of the other elements that I wanted just to comment on that you mentioned that is that playfulness that comes. And when you had mentioned that concept, the pictures of some of our senior original teachers came to mind, specifically Dadi Janki or Dadi Prakashmani, and how they were very much always being, engaged in activities, but they were very joyful also. There was an innocence and such like that. And so with those two elements about lifelong learning and the playfulness in that sense. What are your thoughts about how we can continue to stay joyful while we use those examples in front of us?
Well, I think the concept of lifelong learning is developed in early childhood development, right? So if my early childhood development, which is from 0 to 5, things like curiosity is encouraged in children. Things like, oh, it's all right to wonder at things and to encourage that bright-eyed, bushy-tail kind of feeling within children, in which they're so energetic, so full of vitality, but yet there's a wonder that they don't know. They want to discover things through their own little way of reasoning. I think from the early childhood development, that contributes to lifelong learning. And early childhood development is actually a period of time in a child's life in which there's maximum joy, because it's the joy of developing faculties within them that are not influenced or pressured by systems. But it's a way that allows for that free flow of what I call joy of life. Now, lifelong learning means that the adult, the adolescent, from adolescent to adult, to aging, it is all a period in which it's continuous learning. And so it's never too late for adolescents, adults, and the aging to look back on that period of lifelong learning, especially through intergenerational connections, to recognize that this is a part of me that I have suppressed, because it doesn't die. I just suppress it because of the pressures of the world, because I'm influenced by systems and things of the world, and I suppress that innocence that you talk about. And I think that should never be suppressed, because that is what's going to spark the joy in me. To be with my grandchild, to be with my great-grandchild, to be with my nieces and nephew, depending on the age group, and to engage with, to drop the I know attitude, and to be in the wonderment of something, to be in the curiosity of it, to be in, I don't know this, just as this kid, I need to be like this kid, and maybe return to my early childhood development when I didn't know, when I wasn't so influenced, and the pressures of things took me away from that innocence that blocked my joy from emerging. So I would say that, to me, that's what lifelong learning is all about. It's learning the treasures within. It's not about being blocked. Those treasures within should not be blocked. And one of the greatest treasures within is joy. And so, yes, that is what I would see. And the playfulness is, life is never intended to be serious. Life is not a serious business, but life is meant to be lived. Life is meant to be something I rejoice in. Life is meant to be something I enjoy. Life is meant to be something that makes me smile. Life is something that I jump for joy. Every day I wake up, I'm jumping for joy. I jump out of my bed with joy. That's the first jump I make.
Do you have that on video?
Huh?
Do you have that on video?
What, jumping out of my bed?
Yeah.
I'll do it tomorrow and send it to you.
Thank you. Be great. I'm going to open it up. If anybody else has a short comment or a question that they can direct to Sister Gayatri, you have that chance to unmute yourself and maybe share your joy of what you've heard, or a follow-up to what's been said, if you'd like.
Eric, can you hear me?
I can hear Gayatri. Are you frozen now? It's okay. I see Sushil.
Yeah. Well, she's frozen. I think Sister Gayatri is okay. I think she's coming back.
He's back.
Yeah, I'm here. It was just unstable, and I was reading your comments, Sushil Bhai, that you were very much part of a joy in your musical days.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Your talk was so touchy. You know, every aspect of your talk, that you last comments about the child, who would not be happy when you say child smile? A child smile, it could be any child. It could be naked child in mud pile. It may be a bathing child. It may be well-dressed, groomed child. Who would not smile back when you look at the smile of the? It's like a worth. It's valueless,
Mm.
or it's so valuable. So I think I was rehearsing it. What was my joy? And I kept learning more and more. I kept discovering where I getting joy day to day. And I later on found music class. Oh my gosh. I look forward for this music class with my teacher every once a week. And oh my God, presence of her brings, and the music and my harmonium playing and singing brings me so much of the joy. It's like, I'm of the top of the world. And going to Himalayas, of course, I grew up in Shimla in Himachal Pradesh with the snow. So nature was in abundance. So I'm a nature lover. So the other day, Mansarovar Lake came. Oh my God, I was jumping off the, when Mansarovar Lake, sister mentioned, I said, oh my God, it's 13,000. It's in my dream. Not for pilgrimages point of view, but just be with nature there. It's so beautiful. Yeah. So you made a very lovely evening, Sister Gayatri, and I enjoyed your talk. You gave me tons of joy today.
Yeah, as you were speaking, I think it was Shakespeare said, if music be the song of love, play on. But I would say, if music be the joy of life, play on. And of course, Keats in his beautiful poem says, a thing of beauty is a joy forever. So whether it's beauty, that joy is expressed, or whether it's music, it's the joy of life. So yeah, beautiful.
I'm going to follow up on something else. I'm going to play here for a second if I can. Haven't done this much, but you also mentioned joy is a color. And so not sure how this works out, but I'm supposed to have a poll. Okay, I just launched a poll. And so I don't know if any of you can see that, but we're going to try this to see what is the color of your joy. And if it's possible for you to click or respond or I'm not quite sure. We don't do a lot of polls, so we're kind of experimenting, but it was a wonderful concept to think of joy as color and what the different colors might mean. And I know that there's a lot of significance to color. And so, we're kind of entering into a realm that I'm definitely not an expert on, but certain colors attract me more than others in different times. And so that connection between innate qualities and also our joy and how those can be activated by seeing something outside, I think is quite fascinating. So a general opening question is, what is the color of your joy, Sister Gayatri?
Well, my color of joy is it's a golden orange red. I don't know how you're going to get that, but it's really bright.
Okay, so like a fire truck?
No. It's like this. It's like the incorporeal world, that golden red or orange color. It's a color it's a fiery color,
Fire.
very soothing color.
Yeah.
Would that be like the sun?
That exactly. Thank you.
Okay. The color that comes to mind, and I describe it sometimes, is it's not going to work for us this weekend. But when it's sunny outside, to go out, close your eyes, and look at the sun and see what the color is inside. And it is how I would describe that, kind of that golden, orange, red. It's more of the feeling, the energy, the color of heat in that sense. And it is very nice. So yeah, it's fascinating, lots to think about. And it seems to me that this group is kind of a reddish yellow. So maybe that's the golden color you're talking about. I'm going to end the poll. Thank you all for clicking and trying and seeing what could happen there. I don't know exactly how it's going to work out, but we've got that. And then share the results. I'm not sure where I'm sharing them, but are you seeing any results anywhere?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
see the results. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, mine is blue.
Blue. All right. Yeah, you can all be very proud of your colors. They're all
Well,
nice colors.
Well, I believe in blue because I saw blue mountains and I'm the nature lover. I see
Yeah.
the sky, it's blue, and the ocean is blue. So I see depth of the blue. I see the height of the blue. So, and I wear blue when I'm in my Lokik world. So not today, but generally I
Right.
do. Yeah,
Well,
blue is
And
beautiful.
blue is also the color for peace, the United
Yeah,
Nations.
your
flag
nation
is
color.
blue.
We have flag blue. Yeah, thank you.
and so if it's possible, don't leave us feeling blue, but you can leave us maybe feeling curious and innovative and invigorated.
Yeah.
Would like to invite you to maybe guide us in a reflection on your joy innately, and how that can be triggered and how we might take that feeling away with us, if that's okay.
Yeah, and another thing about joy, I will do that, Eric, and hopefully if the internet goes and you lose me, then maybe you could do a meditation. You could continue doing the meditation. However, there's also shapes of joy. And it said that anything with a sharp edge, or even if it is, in shapes with sharp edges, wouldn't bring joy. The shape that brings the maximum joy is a circle. And so what's your coffee cups? This was a research done that if anything you're drinking it out of an angular shaped cup, the joy wouldn't be touched within. It wouldn't trigger the joy of feeding the body. But if you drink it out of a round cup, it brings a lot of joy. No wonder the original shape of all cups were round. And then we started getting modern with our angular shapes.
I love coconut water.
Wavy shapes.
And what about pink, the color pink?
Pink.
Oh,
I'm
it's
just gonna say
beautiful.
beautiful.
Yeah.
There's a softness
There's-
it's, I'm also thinking, and I won't say, but I know it's already been shared. And Sushil, you're absolutely beautiful about children, because any child you look at, there is a smile, and they are terribly innocent. Anything that they do. I will just share one thing quickly with one of my grandsons at a very young age. There were ants on the sidewalk, and so curious, and he was picking them up. And an adult would come by and say, "How could you do that?" But all this child saw was the ability to see something that to that child was something little and crawling that he could pick up, and that gave him joy. So it's very quickly missed by an adult, either because of fear or whatever, but to understand where that adult was coming from as well. So maybe that adult got something watching that little child for that moment. So and also the painted desert is very beautiful. I just wanted to share that. That's all.
Yeah, very beautiful. Great. So Eric, are we ready for the meditation?
Yes, so take it away. We'll do it with silent music.
Okay, I don't know what silence music is, but I'm supposing no music. Okay. All right, so let's all remember that innate within I, the being, the soul, is this beautiful virtue called joy. My life is stimulated by this joy. When I'm aware that joy is innate within me, I'm also aware and real in the moments of my life. I delight in the light of joy. In the awareness of this delight, various colors emanate from me as spiritual auras. And my spiritual auras emanating from soul consciousness are seen in a range of colors. They could be seen as the 7 colors in the rainbow, rising up to brilliant white. The colors of the auras emanating from the joy within brighten the lives of others. The soul's joy comes alive when it is in the color of God's company. The color of God's company removes the invisible forces of the illusions that suppress the joy within. And the color of God's company illuminates the lightness of a joyful feeling. My relationship with nature and its natural wonders uplift the spirit of joy within me. Nature is the mirror I look into and remember the joy I hold within. And when I'm with nature, I just don't want to take from nature, but I also want to give back to nature. I want to share with nature the wonders of my innate joy, so that she too can feel that I care for her, that I love her, and that we have a harmonious relationship. Making my outer environment more delightful and easy to live in. I must do so not by exploiting nature, but I must do so aligning my inner environment to bring joy into my outer environment. Joy is connected to balance. It's connected to symmetry. It's connected to flow. At this time of the season of spring, it is the time for renewal. It is the time for letting go and for letting be. It's the time for beauty to be revealed. The emergent beauty of Mother Nature and the emergent beauty of the soul. And just as how the attachments to winter are forgotten, in the same way, let me let go of the attachments to people, to possessions, to places that rob me of my innate joy. In reconnecting to this inner joy, let me be like the season of spring. Let me blossom. Let me expand my capacity. And let me flourish with newness. My life is the beauty that becomes the joy forever. Om Shanti.
Thank you so very much, Sister Gayatri. Obviously, you've brought us much joy, and happy to have you here every time. Always insightful, always wonderful, and much to take away and to think about. And so once again, have a great time in Peace Village, Madhuban, and share your color and your joy with everyone there. And on our behalf, we appreciate you joining us here. Thank you again. And just a note to everyone, next week we'll be here, 6:30 meditation, 7 o'clock, we will have Healthy Mind, Beautiful Soul, and Sister Shireen from our Tampa Center in Florida we'll be sharing about being your own mother. So it will be joyful also, and it'll be a nice springboard from here into May. So have a great spring. May it be filled with joy. And I love the idea of taking once a week a joy day. Enjoy it all, everyone. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Om Shanti. Om
Everyone. Om
Shanti.
Shanti.
Bye.
Om Shanti. Goodbye.
Thank you, sister. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. It's Shanti, beautiful. Thank
Beautiful.
you so much.
So beautiful.